You finish a project, a pitch, or a workout, and instead of feeling wiser, you feel hollow. The result wasn't what you wanted, and now you avoid starting the next thing. That pattern, shrink, stall, repeat, is one of the most common productivity leaks. Not failure itself, but the way we react to it. This video teaches a tight 3-part ritual you can perform in 90 seconds that turns any setback into a calibrated learning step and immediate forward motion. The framework is Pause Reframe Micro-Test. It's short, repeatable, and built on 3 robust behavioral and neuroscientific mechanisms: interruption of the threat response, cognitive reappraisal to change meaning, and low-cost experimentation that leverages action inertia. Use this once and you'll stop letting errors erode momentum. Use it habitually and failure becomes a systematic source of reliable improvement. Start with the reason this works. Your brain treats mistakes as social or survival threats. Surprise plus uncertainty triggers fast emotional responses and a cascade of avoidance behaviors. That's adaptive in genuine danger but maladaptive for creative work. If you want to learn from failure, you must first stop the defensive cascade so the prefrontal cortex can examine the event objectively. Pause reduces amygdala activation. Reframe recruits meaning-making and prefrontal interpretation. Micro-test creates a low-cost feedback loop that updates predictions and stabilizes confidence. The ritual is intentionally lean so you can use it mid-work, after a meeting, after a call, or when a prototype fails. Step 1. Pause, 20-30 seconds. As soon as you notice the sting, stop what you're doing and change posture. Stand if you were sitting, or sit if you were standing. Place both feet flat on the floor. Inhale for 4 counts, hold 1, exhale for 6, repeat once. Lower your shoulders and gently soften your jaw. Say one sentence aloud in the present tense and neutral voice. I noticed this didn't work as expected. That's it. Why these elements? The breath pattern lengthens exhalation, which engages the parasympathetic nervous system and reduces physiological arousal. The posture change provides a novel vestibular signal which breaks the automatic loop that often keeps you ruminating. And the verbal observation, not judgment, is affect labeling, which dampens amygdala reactivity. The pause is not denial. It is a short embodied gap that creates the cognitive space you need to think instead of react. Step 2. Reframe, 30-40 seconds. With your nervous system calmed, ask 3 focused questions in this exact order, out loud or in your head, and keep answers extremely brief, 1 short clause each. 1. What exactly failed? Name the specific outcome, not the global assessment. For example, the headline didn't convert rather than the campaign failed. 2. What did I control versus what I didn't control? List 1 controllable variable and 1 uncontrollable factor. 3. What is 1 plausible reason for the result I can test quickly? Offer 1 hypothesis in the format because X then Y happened. This pattern forces a cognitive reappraisal. Instead of letting failure mean I'm a failure, you convert it into a testable claim. Neuroscience call-out. Cognitive reappraisal changes the meaning of emotional events by engaging dorsolateral prefrontal circuits that reinterpret stimuli, and this reduces negative affect while preserving learning. Keep language concrete, avoid vague self-talk. For example, the webinar signups were low. I controlled the landing page copy but not the email subject lines. Maybe the subject line didn't create curiosity. That becomes your working hypothesis. Step 3. Micro-test, 30-40 seconds. Transform the hypothesis into an experiment that costs less than 2 minutes to start and less than 24 hours to get an informative outcome. Choose 1 actionable micro-change and 1 metric to observe. Examples: change the first sentence of the email subject line and send to a 5% sample. Replace the headline and run a 12-minute ad test. Change the call to action text and observe clicks for the next hour. The micro-test must be both minimal and diagnostic. It should tell you whether your hypothesis is plausible without consuming big resources. Say aloud, I will test micro-change and measure metric for time window. Then initiate 1 immediate motor action. Press send, publish the variant, set a timer. The physical initiation is crucial. It converts decision into motion and prevents you from slipping back into planning or rumination. Why micro-tests work? They create rapid prediction errors your brain can use to update models. Instead of being stuck in a long, ambiguous failure, you create a short loop of action, data, update, which restores control and reduces the anxiety that made you avoid starting in the first place. Quick scripts to memorize so you can run the ritual under stress. Pause. I noticed this didn't work as expected. Reframe Q1. What failed exactly? Reframe Q2. What did I control? Reframe Q3. What one reason can I test? Micro-test. I will change and measure metric for time. Sending now. These phrases are intentionally tight. Language scaffolds cognition. A 14-day practice protocol to rebalance your failure response. Day 1-3. Whenever you hit a setback, perform pause, reframe, micro-test, and log the hypothesis and micro-action. Day 4-10. Review logs every evening and cluster repeated failure modes. Create a simple checklist of recurring controllable variables. Day 11-14. Run a batch of micro-tests for the most common hypothesis cluster and measure changes. This practice teaches your brain to expect diagnostic low-cost learning rather than catastrophic threat. Common objections and fixes. Objection. This is too small or trivial. My problem is big. Fix. Big problems are solved by sequences of small, informative tests. The ritual does not replace large-scale work. It creates the stable, low-anxiety environment you need to organize larger interventions. Objection. I feel ashamed to say it out loud. Fix. Whisper if you must. The multisensory benefit of sound engages language networks more than silent thought, but internal phrasing still helps. Objection. I don't have 30 seconds. Fix. Inhale, exhale, and name the result internally in one breath and pick 1 2-minute micro-action. Even a tiny physical movement is better than paralysis. Examples from real contexts so you can map this to your world. Product failure, your new feature adoption is low. Pause. Label feature adoption low. Reframe, we rolled it to all users. Perhaps onboarding step 2 is confusing. Micro-test. Change onboarding step 2 wording and observe completion rate for 24 hours in a 5% sample. Creative failure. A short film festival submission gets rejected. Pause, say it didn't land for the jury. Reframe, maybe the opening scene didn't establish stakes. Micro-test, swap in a different 30-second opening and post to a small audience for feedback within 48 hours. Personal failure. You misread tone in a message and caused friction. Pause. Label. Reframe. I assumed intent incorrectly. Micro-test, send a brief corrective message that clarifies intent and ask one question to open dialogue, then observe response. Measurement in learning loops. A core advantage of this ritual is that it makes learning explicit. Maintain a simple 2-column log for 1 month. Hypothesis. Result. Each row is one micro-test. After 20-30 micro-tests, you will start to see which hypotheses consistently hold and which fail, producing patterns you can scale. The meta skill here is calibration, the ability to convert noisy negative evidence into precise, repeatable signals you can act on. Visual metaphors for the video. Start with a person crumpling paper or closing a laptop in defeat. Cut to a slow-motion inhale and a hand pressing down on a desk. Pause. Then animate a short list with 3 crisp bullets sliding into view. Reframe. Finally, show a tiny switch flipped and a single metric number tick up. Micro-test. Keep visuals minimal and tactile. Hands, small objects, timers, so viewers can mirror the actions. Why this changes confidence, not merely outcomes. Many productivity methods promise results but ignore effect. This ritual does both. It stabilizes mood via physiological regulation and simultaneously produces a repeatable way to convert failure into a source of informative feedback. Over time, this reduces the anticipatory dread that leads to avoidance and gives your brain a predictable pattern that reliably restores agency. Advanced tweaks for teams and leaders. Make micro-tests explicit in postmortems. For every identified failure, write 1 hypothesis and 1 micro-test that can run within 24 hours. Limit discussion to no more than 3 tests to avoid paralysis by analysis. Encourage public micro-commitments. We will run variant A on 10% and measure click-through in 6 hours. Public commitment increases follow-through and accelerates shared learning. A caution about attribution. Avoid global labels like "we failed" or "it was a disaster." They kill morale and obscure actionable variables. Use the ritual to maintain curiosity rather than guilt. The language you choose matters. Replace failure with data in team conversations. Data invites hypotheses, while failure invites blame. Final challenge and call to action. For the next 7 days, every time something goes wrong, execute the pause, reframe, micro-test ritual, and log the hypothesis and result. At day 7, count how many micro-tests you ran and whether your avoidance decreased. Share 1 micro-test that produced surprising information in the comments. If you want a 1-page printable template of the 3-step script and the 2-column log, like the video and subscribe, it will be pinned in the first comment. Remember, failure isn't the enemy, unclear reaction is. The Pause Reframe Micro-Test ritual gives you the simplest possible architecture to convert every setback into a focused, low-cost experiment and to keep your momentum intact. Try it now. Stop, breathe, name what failed, state one hypothesis, and run the smallest possible test you can initiate in 2 minutes. That single tiny loop will change how your brain treats error and, over time, transform failure into your fastest path to progress.